Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Gary Lucas and I'm back with another guitar and singing tutorial. I've got more about changing the keys of songs and whether it's the right thing to do. I had a really fantastic comment from Mr. XYZ, thank you for your comment. And they asked, what do you suggest for songs like Wonderwall, which use fixed chords? And so what they mean by that is in the original Oasis song Wonderwall, these two fingers are constantly held down. And those chords and the inversions of those chords on the guitar are integral to the charm of that song. It's such a recognizable part of the song. And the second example that I'm going to use later in the video, which is a song by the Cranberries called Zombie, has an equally iconic rhythm guitar part that we'll have a look at. But sticking with Wonderwall as the first example, I think Mr. XYZ makes a brilliant point that those chord choices are so important to the sound that it almost feels wrong to change them. And so I've got two things to say about that. My first is that yes, if you are playing in a function band, say you're in a wedding band for example, and Wonderwall is going to be one of the songs on your set list, you probably are going to want to maintain the original sound of that song. Because if you're playing in a function band, that's more important. So you're going to need to learn the song using these chords. If you can't sing it in that key, you've got two options. You could maybe go capo 1. If it's too high, maybe no capo at all and see if you can sing it in that key. Obviously you'd have to get the rest of the band to learn it in that key too, which makes things a little bit trickier, but it is achievable. And you haven't changed the sound of the song too much. Today was gonna be the day, but they're gonna throw it back to you. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. And backbeat, the word is on the street that the fire in your heart is out. And I'm sure you've heard it all before, but you never really had a doubt. So that's option 1. Option 2, if you can't sing it in those keys, is to collaborate with a singer who can, if that is what is most important to you. However, if you're not in a function band, if you're an artist who is willing to explore the sounds of your cover songs and you're wanting to convey something a little bit different, you could do something more along the lines of what Ryan Adams did. Ryan Adams famously covered Wonderwall and he made it sound a little bit like this.
'Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna give it back to you.
So Ryan Adams has the capo on the 4th fret, 2 frets higher than where the original Oasis key is, and he's not strumming the chords all the way down to the bottom, and he's not keeping these two fingers here. He sometimes uses this kind of E minor 7, and his finger picking will stop at that note. Then he'll use a G6 chord and have the finger picking go. And then when he gets to the A minor, the last chord in the sequence, he'll play it as a proper A minor rather than this chord in the original Oasis version. So it sounds something a bit like this. And so it has this really lovely mellow sound. The tempo is slightly slower, and you might have noticed that he even changes the melody a little bit to instantly indicate that this is going to be his version of the song. He's not making this sound like the original, very intentionally. So instead of singing Today was gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. His version sounds like, today was gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. So two things are different, the vocal melody and his arrangement on the guitar, capo in a different place, finger picking, and accentuating different notes within those chord shapes. So to sum up the first part of that video, if it's important to you to recreate the original sound of the song, say for example you're in a function band, then yeah, you're going to need to use those original sounding chords and learn it as best as you can. Try to sing it in the original key if you can. If you can't, then get a singer who can. And if it's less important to you to recreate the exact original sound, then do something more along the lines of what Ryan Adams did, where you change several things about the song and clearly do your own cover of the song. In the second example, we're going to look at Zombie by the Cranberries. The original is in E minor and uses these chords. These chords are so important to the song. They sound oppressive, they sound depressing to match the theme of the song. And if you're in a function band, you're probably going to want to recreate that sound. And since there's no capo on the song, you can't make the song lower using those original chords. So let's look at an artistic cover of this song. There's an artist called Brannan who did something a little bit similar to what Ryan Adams did with Wonderwall. Brannan decides, I'm going to put the capo here on the 7th fret. Now this might seem like it's taken the song higher by 7 steps, but you can actually think about this as being lower by 5 steps. Let me just quickly explain that in case there are people out there wondering, how is +7 the same as -5? This is an E, and if we play here on the 12th fret, this is an E. Now Brannan took the key from E minor to B minor. So we're going to count from the E up to the B. Okay, so E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there we are on our B, 7th fret. If we go from the high E and we count down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got to the exact same chord. So whether we go from E minor up by 7 or from E minor down by 5, we've actually got to the same chord. So even though Brannan puts the capo on the 7th fret and uses the E minor chords, he's not necessarily singing 7 steps higher. You actually might consider that he's singing 5 steps lower. And it really suits his voice. And he changes the chords a little bit because what he does is use the standard version of each chord. So instead of using C major 7 and G6 and this really fascinating chord that only has the one finger on in the 2nd fret, Brannan uses the standard versions of each of those chords: E minor, C, G, and D. And I think that's because he's already moved the capo so much higher, he wants to offer something different, a little bit like Ryan Adams did with Wonderwall. And in his version, this lovely cello comes in and it's beautifully performed. And it sounds a little bit like this. So I'm going to end the video with a different extra option for what you could do that combines a little bit of both of these. Because to come back to the original question, what if you want to capture something about the original sound of those chords and change key? Is there a best of both worlds? I think that there is. It might not be the perfect solution, but there is a different way. So let's stick with Zombie, for example. As much as I love the J. Brannan version, sometimes I'm really in the mood to capture the oppressive, weightier sounding chords of the original, even though I want to change key. Why would I want to change key? Let's hear what I sound like when I sing it in the original key. Another head hangs slowly. Child is slowly taken. That's not a great note for me. The lower those notes get in that melody, it's all getting a bit too low, and my voice isn't sitting comfortably there. So, option 1, I could sing it all an octave higher. Let's try it. Another head hangs slowly, child is slowly taken. The verse is not too bad, so I might be fooling myself into thinking this is great. I can play it in the original key, no problem. But what happens when I get to the chorus? What's in your head? In your head? And we've got that same thing as the last video, it's too high. So what if I'm wanting to find that sweet spot, but keep these kinds of chords? What I like to do is change it to the key of A minor, and then carefully choose the types of chords that are going to fit in the chord progression. Because I know that it goes E minor to C major 7, that means I'm going to do A minor to F major 7. And that major 7 has that quite depressing, oppressive quality to it. And because I know in the original it goes G6 to this really fascinating chord of just one bass note up here, I'm going to do the same thing. Instead of going C to G, I'm going to go C to C over B. That means that the chord progression sounds like this. And let's hear how that sounds with my voice now. Another head hangs slowly, child is slowly taken. And what about the chorus? What's in your head? In your head, zombie, zombie. It's sounding much better. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to support me, you'll find my PayPal and Patreon links in the description. And if you can't afford to make a donation at the moment, then simply liking and commenting on this video really helps kick off the algorithm and recommends it to other people who might find this video useful. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.